Our next section is about making digital assets bankable. And our first speaker will be Frank Wagner from Invao. He'll be speaking on why professional and institutional investors should invest in digital assets. A warm welcome for Frank. Hi.
I have the bad luck of the first speech just after the lunch break. So for all the people online, you're lucky because you can eat while I talk. And for everybody else here in the room, I hope you had a good lunch and are not so sleepy now. Okay? How many slides have you seen so far during these past 2 days? My best guess would be around 500 maybe. So that's the reason why I decided to add only 5 slides to the game. And this presentation is not dedicated for the Frankfurt bubble, so it's not for the insiders. It's kind of debate not made for the fishermen, but for the fish. So, and the fish, in my definition, is traditional finance, is institutional money, professional investors in Germany, Europe, and beyond. Short introduction about me. My name is Frank. I'm not a finance guy by nature. I'm an entrepreneur in the digital space since the 90s. And I got hooked in 2014 by crypto, by Bitcoin, by the idea, and I'm invested since 2016. And then I started, together with a good friend of mine, to build a business out of it, Invao Asset Management. The Invao Group is based in Liechtenstein. And we issued back in 2019 one of the first European financial products on the blockchain, the Invao bond. It was a tokenized bond. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. And one of my key learnings is, again, the thing with the bait. You have to prepare the bait not for your own ecosystem, not for the anglers, not for the fishermen, but for the fish. And the fish is where the big money is, where the big insurance companies are, where the big pension funds are. And since then, I'm talking to these guys, and I have always 5 key messages for them, my 5 slides. I'm pretty sure that in this room, it's very, very easy to convince you that crypto investments are a good idea. I also expect that everyone has some Bitcoin, ETH, NFTs, whatever, already in your wallets. For most of the people out there, that's not the case. And for traditional investors, traditional asset managers, it's even harder to understand why they should invest. And answers are everywhere. Yeah, just go to YouTube, go to Twitter, and we could have a very, very long discussion why they should invest. Before I give you my personal 5 reasons why they should care, learn, and invest, I come with my favorite reasons I just found recently on Twitter. So one is the increasing money supply, the balance sheet of the ECB. I really like this one. So we all see this inflation of the money supply. I'm not talking about inflation. I'm talking about this increasing money supply. And interesting as well, what are the trending topics in Germany? They're on the right side. I just took this picture on Sunday. So you see what people really care about. Yeah, it's not crypto. I really like this one. And maybe I'm also, one day, I become a good friend of the ECB. There was a speech on this great show on YouTube where the ECB said, well, the paper slips we have in our pockets, she's talking about the euro, by the way, the paper slips we have in our pockets, they are basically worthless, they have no intrinsic value. Wow, that's good news. But so there are many reasons out why crypto is a good idea. But let me start with my very personal reasons and what I see where is a big demand for understanding in the institutional finance world. Number one, Bitcoin is here to stay. That sounds so obvious in this group, of course, yeah. But if you are in the financial service industry, if you are managing other people's money, then you cannot ignore this new asset class anymore. Because if you do so, you should never call you again an investor. Yeah? Investing means investing into the future. Future means risk. It also requires compliance. I completely agree with that. But one of the reasons I always are confronted with is it's too early, we don't get it. It can go down to zero and it's not compliant. That's all not true, you know this. But my only answer to these people is, when I'm not in the most friendly mood, I tell them, hey, excuse me, I don't have the time to explain it again and again, but it's your duty, being an asset manager, familiarize yourself with this new asset class. And that changed over time. When we started with Invao back in 2018, it was mostly an educational mission. Yeah? And now they get the point. They see it's not going away. They're also on Twitter, they're also on YouTube, and they read books. So they are getting more and more the point that this asset class is not going away, so they should invest. Number two, reason number two. They always tell me about high volatility. There's too much volatility on it. Of course there's volatility. Yeah? Volatility is just the price we pay on the road to success. Yeah? It's a little bit like in the Wild West. Yeah? Just imagine you are sitting on a horse, riding towards the Rocky Mountains, and there are shootings from the left, there are shootings from the right, then there are the Rockies, and behind the Rockies there's California and the sun. That's a little bit the feeling I have in the crypto space for the last, let's say, 5 years. Of course there are shootings. Yes, it's dangerous. But that's the way. That's the price we have to pay. Or maybe another picture here. So volatility, what does it mean? That's kind of like of a roller coaster ride. Yeah? When you or your kids are going to or taking a ride on a roller coaster, when it's going up, everyone is cheering. Yeah? Everyone is happy. If it's going down, wow, I want to go out of this car. But better you don't. So the worst thing you can do during a roller coaster ride is getting out of the car. And that's volatility explained in very, very simple words. So my recommendation especially for professional investors and in maybe my age group and above, delete all these apps. Don't look on a daily basis on the value of Bitcoin and USD. It doesn't matter. It's a journey for 2, maybe 5 years. And if you look on rolling years, then the picture is much more fancy and you will like it. Yeah, so that's recommendation number 1. So of course there's number 2, of course there's correlation, especially when, sorry, I missed it. Volatility comes later, but now let's talk about number 2, the correlation. Correlation with other asset classes. On the short, of course, also the digital assets, there's a high correlation with traditional asset classes. Yeah? That's no surprise. And by the way, I experienced that for the first time on this conference 2 years ago. That was just before the beginning of COVID and all the lockdowns. And we had this crash, this phenomenal crash on the stock market, the oil price, commodities, and also crypto. That was the first time. Before, I was always explained there's no correlation with traditional asset classes. On the short term, it is. If we have a black swan, and we have lots of black swans now in our world, then we have a high correlation. But on the long, it performs better, it outperforms everything else we have seen before. I was so hooked with my volatility, so I can skip this one. Yeah, volatility, just again, is the price we have to pay on the road to success. Volatility doesn't matter. And for us as professional traders or asset managers, it's even an opportunity. Yeah? Because if you have no volatility, You cannot outperform the markets or certain assets in a way. We need volatility. I don't know if you had the opportunity to be part of the panel we just had before lunch. And during this panel, I felt a bit lonely because I was the only guy always saying, no, it's not only about tokenization of traditional assets. It's also about the other way around. So bring digital assets, new asset classes, crypto into traditional finance, traditional financial products. That's a tough learning I made with Invao. So when we started with our first tokenized bond back in 2019, it was so hard to explain at the time, not only what crypto is, but also how to get access to it. So you need a custodian, or you have a wallet, then you get a token. No, you don't get shares. Yeah, and that's really tough. So we have to help, we as an industry, we have to help traditional financial advisors, investors with easy, understandable products. So with our products, with our tech solutions, we have to follow the money and the regulation. That's one of my key learnings, and that's the reason why Invao is working hard on financial products with all the regulation inside it, because the market is desperately waiting for financial products. We see that in the US. When they started back in 2019, 2020, with the institutional adoption of Bitcoin especially, and other coins and tokens, they started with institutional grade products. That made a difference. That was the momentum for the market. I promised you 5 slides, so that's my last one. Talking about regulation. When we started, I learned from Thomas sitting here in row number 2, there's a lot of regulation and you need lawyers for that, and we have this prospectus and this and this and this and this. Yeah, and I was saying, oh, no, please go away. Happy to pay your bill, but please do it for me. Yeah, it's a must-have. And now I understood, no, regulation is good, because regulation makes the difference between black and white listed, and takes all these shades of gray out of the market. So one of the most used excuses for investors being too lazy, too stupid, too I don't know what, to not invest into crypto is there's no regulation. That's always a killer. Yeah, it's not regulated, it's not compliant, I don't know, and then a no is always the appropriate answer, and they're even right. So we have to help them with good regulation, and on the other hand, of course, we need smart regulators. Germany is moving very quickly here, I'm really happy. Bitcoin and Liechtenstein, mostly the same for me. Liechtenstein was the first mover on this, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to start with my business in this country. Europe is now following, Germany is moving, and I'm pretty confident that on the regulatory side we will see a great progress. But we have to educate here as well, especially our politicians. That's where I'm not so sure if they're always so smart. Yeah, they take some decisions just based on ideology and without enough knowledge. So regulation is good, and for me it's also very, very sure that there will be no bans. That's one of the things I always hear from my counterparts in the institutional world. Maybe Bitcoin will be banned. No, it will not. Definitely not. It's a commodity. The Americans are very clear about this, so there's no reason. And regulation is good. It will come. Bans will not. So that's basically all I have. Of course, we're happy to discuss with you all the technical details of financial products in this world, how to help institutional investors, and so on. But again, we have seen enough slides, so I have 5 statements for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.